Hello everybody, I'm Richard Esplin, Head of Product at Doc Labs, and in this presentation, I'm going to share the key roadmap items we're planning for 2024. But before sharing the details about what we will be working on, it will be helpful to briefly discuss key trends in identity technology that are driving our efforts. In the 20th century, governments standardized how physical identity documents would be used. And they did this mainly for government purposes, but the commercial sector realized how much these standard documents facilitated business transactions, whether it's with an identity card, a driver's license, or a passport. Being able to check who you're talking to made getting a bank loan or all sorts of commercial transactions much easier in the 20th century. With the rise of the internet, we have tried to lift these paper documents into digital transactions. And it works, but it's pretty cumbersome. It generally involves taking a picture of the document and then taking a photo of the person that's doing the transaction, doing some algorithmic checks to see if they're really there, if they're alive. It's not very efficient, and people find it rather bothersome. Finally, in the 2020s, we see the rise of reusable digital identity, native digital identity, that can be used to facilitate these transactions without having to revert back to paper documents. Whether it's governments in the European Union with their new digital identity standard, or in North America with mobile driver's licenses and the ISO MDL standard that's being adopted throughout the world. Also with commercial actors, whether it's payments or banking or airlines, leading companies have realized that creating a native digital identity, a reusable digital identity within their ecosystem, makes the process much smoother for all the participants when they're transacting that ecosystem. This drive to reusable digital identity is rooted in the complexity and challenges of the single-use identity model, where you're using a paper document. Know your customer costs continue to increase year over year with single-use digital identity. Every time you ask a customer to go get their paper document to do business online, the risk of shopping cart abandonment is very high. There's a good chance they don't ever come back and complete their transaction. And the single-use identity approach doesn't actually solve digital identity theft as digital identity theft numbers continue to increase. From a technical level, this single-use identity is also cumbersome to deal with. Building integrations with each different identity source is expensive, and it's difficult to get right so that you preserve security. You have to manually negotiate the governance around each of these data sources, whether, including the legal side and the pricing and the contracts. Big tech companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon have tried to implement their own solutions, but users are suspicious of these solutions. The track record for privacy is not very good. So leading organizations have realized they can't rely solely on identity that others provide, whether it's paper documents or it's a solution from a big tech provider. That's why leading organizations are turning their customers' data into reusable digital identities. Market analysts like Liminal see this trend. They predict the total addressable market's going to grow from just over $30 billion in 2022 to over $260 billion in 2027. Gartner, looking on a similar time period, forecasts that portable digital identity solutions will take 20% of the market for standalone identity verification. These market trends are what are driving leading organizations to turn their customers' data into reusable digital identities using verifiable credentials. And so this enables lightning fast verifications. It allows the creation of an ecosystem of identity without having to build lots of custom integrations. Because each attribute signed in the credential, you don't have to rely solely on the security of the endpoints that you're using for data exchange. Because the credential is under the control of the user, it complies with regulation requiring user consent. It gives that user control over their own identity data. And to top it all off, you can monetize when others are verifying that user's data, so that the issuer still has a business model around the usage of that data. Doc is positioned to be the #1 platform for reusable identity technology for identity solution providers, because our platform today supports the key components of creating and managing fraud-proof verifiable credentials. You can easily issue these credentials that contain attributes customized to your use case through the web interface or through the API. You can store them on a mobile device using our wallet SDK that allows you to embed a credential wallet into the app that your users are already using. And you can easily verify these fraud-proof digital credentials using the API to be able to pull that into your workflow systems to be able to automate your business processes. And this can all be done without any blockchain or cryptography knowledge, and you don't have to track the ever-changing technical standards around verifiable credentials because we're doing that for you. So with that background of industry trends, we can finally talk about the two new features that we're rolling out that we're really excited about. The first feature we're working on rolling out in 2024 addresses a concern raised by our customers that it's tedious to manage relationships with trusted business partners. So we're adding to Doc's platform a set of tools to help you launch your digital identity ecosystem. We're adding to Doc's user-friendly dashboard and API the ability to invite trusted issuers and verifiers and manage those relationships, which will simplify the process for participants in your ecosystem to identify the people they should trust. This will facilitate secure data exchanges between organizations without needing to build a custom integration with each stakeholder. So an ecosystem administrator will define a brand to communicate trust to issuers, verifiers, and holders, and that brand will go through the process as people interact in your ecosystem. It'll allow attaching a governance framework to the ecosystem that all the participants get to see so they understand the rules governing how they interact. It'll allow the ecosystem administrator to invite issuers and assign schemas for which issuers are trusted to issue which credentials, and invite verifiers and assign to each verifier what credentials they're allowed to consume and share verification templates with them. There's really three technical components to this feature. A trust registry on the blockchain, which contains a list of relationships between the issuers and verifiers. This simplifies the process of identifying who's trustworthy within a particular ecosystem and makes those relationships auditable. The ability to attach a governance framework to an ecosystem that's communicated to every stakeholder, which ensures clarity and consistency and helps align all participants in the process surrounding issuance and verification. And a graphical interface. Our Certs web interface automates and simplifies setting up an ecosystem, inviting members, assigning them to be issuers and verifiers, and keeping that list of trusted participants up to date. These new ecosystem tools are currently in beta testing, and they'll soon be widely available. The second major feature addresses another concern that we frequently hear from our customers: how issuers can build businesses issuing reusable digital identity credentials. So in the second quarter of 2024, we plan to launch automated paid credential verification. Issuers will be able to assign a price to a schema so that when a reusable digital identity credential based on that schema is verified, the issuer will automatically get paid. Today, charging for verification of credentials involve manual processes where verifiers are required to contact issuers, arrange contracts and payment for verification, and this is cumbersome and often inefficient. Our new features automate this entire process. Verifiers will designate an account of funds to pay for credentials. Each verification that requires payment will deduct funds from the account to pay the issuer's broker. And upon payment, the issuer's broker will provide the verification of the proof. Our solutions place a strong emphasis on privacy and user autonomy. That's who we are. So our approach ensures that issuers can produce both free and paid credentials based on their use case, which behave the same in the identity holder's wallet. So they continue to feel like they own their credential. They have a say in everything that happens. And that explicit user consent is obtained for every verification process. The reusable identity issuers will not know which specific credential was verified, which is important for preserving the user's privacy. And to make it easy for people who don't want to deal with cryptocurrency transactions, we ensure that payments for verifications can be made in fiat currency. This approach not only safeguards user privacy, but also fosters a trust-based environment where individuals have control over their digital identities. By allowing issuers to require payment for credentials when they are used, we incentivize issuance of high-quality credentials that enable digitization of previously manual processes. Imagine the thousands of organizations that currently issue identity credentials, certificates, workforce credentials, diplomas, and other identity documents who can now get paid for the work they do to make that data available to verifiers as reusable digital credentials. Now, ecosystem tools and verifier payments will unlock these exciting new capabilities, and they're going to take much of our development effort in 2024. We're going to focus on rolling these capabilities out and enhancing them in response to our customers' usage. This includes API changes to make it easy to access these capabilities in your solutions. We are also going to work on a few other things. We need to meet the needs of our largest customers who are in regulated environments with scalability testing, improvements to redundancy and disaster recovery, and similar efforts. We'll be improving our Wallet SDK to make it easier to embed into an existing mobile application. And in response to these changes, we'll reorganize our documentation to make it easier to browse and search. And we'll continue to provide further improvements to the user experience in Certs and the Doc Wallet. In addition, we will continue tracking the adoption of mobile driver's licenses and the IATA standard in Europe, as well as other credential adoption throughout the world, so we can figure out what we'll need to interoperate with credential formats as they become more mainstream. I'm a product guy. I love to hear feedback from our customers. I love to know what you're doing with our solutions, and I really want to know what features are important to you as you expand your solution. If you think a reusable identity will help your organization, I would love to discuss your use case with you. Our whole team would be excited to be part of that call. Feel free to schedule a conversation with us. In conclusion, we've talked about how the world is moving away from physical identity and single-use identity to reusable digital identities. We've talked about how reusable identity is changing how identity is verified. It enables lightning-fast identity verifications, it enables easily setting up digital identity ecosystems, and it enables secure data exchanges that are user-centric and compliant with regulatory requirements around user privacy. And it does this while still allowing issuers to get paid for the usage of the identities they're creating. Doc's reusable digital identity platform already has the capability to create, store, and verify reusable IDs. But in 2024, we're going to launch the ability to connect with trusted issuers and verifiers in a digital identity ecosystem and communicate that trusted brand to the holders as they interact with the ecosystem participants. And we'll add to that the ability to automatically charge for each credential verification. This is why Doc will become the #1 provider of reusable digital identity technology. That's our goal, and we're going to do it. But stay tuned. Next week, we're going to announce a partnership with a token wallet provider. So those of our crypto community who are interested, you should stay tuned for that. We'll talk to you then.